everyone. Thanks so much for introducing yourselves in the chat. It's great to see where everyone is calling in from and all the great different roles you have. I'm going to put some resources here in the chat that we're going to be going over today. We're going to be talking about some brand new features that I think are really fun and exciting. Feel free to keep introducing yourself in the chat if you didn't get a chance yet. And I'll get us started here. So here is our board for today with some info on new features for this month. I'm going to be presenting directly from this Padlet. So some of you may already know that on a Padlet, you can turn it directly into a slideshow. So you can press on the play button right here. And without any extra work, it'll turn directly into a slideshow. It has a QR code built in here. And then each post will turn into a slide like this. So to introduce ourselves, my name is Zareen Levien. I'm the Education Marketing Manager here. Before I joined Padlet, I was a teacher for many years. This is one of my first high school classes many years back. Mostly taught in San Francisco and Oakland. And then for a long time, I was a digital learning coach. So I got to use a lot of different digital tools with some amazing teachers and students, and got to see the real power of giving students the tools to help them be creative and share their thinking in the classroom. And we also have Julia with us.
Everyone, I'm Julia Carnes. I'm the product marketing manager here at Padlet. I've been with the company for 4.5 years, so I'd like to think I know all the ins and outs. And today I'll be moderating our Q&A. So if you do have any questions that come up throughout our presentation, please put those in the Q&A. That'll allow everyone to see them, and it'll allow me to answer them very quickly. All right, back over to you, Zareen.
Great. All right, so yeah, keep the chat coming in the chat, but for questions, if you put that in the Q&A, it'll be a little easier to find with this large group. Here is our simple agenda for today. We're going to do some things to get started. We'll also play a little bit on some Padlets. I'll show you 3 brand new features, and one is actually coming soon. It's almost out, but they're really fun and exciting. And then I'll share a lot more resources if you want to go deeper into anything that we didn't get to, or if you're newer to Padlet and you want some more background, there's a lot of great resources that we have, videos and past session recordings that we'll be able to share with you. Okay, so for this next thing, I am on a Padlet here, so I'll put this link back in the chat. If you all wouldn't mind filling out this poll right here so I can see who is with us. So you can come here onto the Padlet, and in this yellow box, you can let me know what your experience level is with Padlet. Are you beginner, intermediate, or advanced? And then you can hit vote, and then I can show the results right here. While you're doing that, I'll just give those who are newer to Padlet a quick little tour. So if you are just getting started with Padlet, you can go to padlet.com and you can sign up for a free account. You can use all the features that I'm showing you today, and you're just limited in the number of Padlets that you can make. With a free account, you can make 3 free Padlets to try it out. And if you want more, then you can explore our subscriptions. When you're first coming to Padlet, you can come to the Make page, and here's where you can make a brand new Padlet, or Sandbox is our whiteboard. If you want to see some examples, those can help you figure out what's possible. So you can click on either of those buttons. And then you can just come into a Padlet and ask a question. And you could do this with students. You could ask them a question about what you're studying, or just a get to know you question. And then they could come to this Padlet. You share the link with them. They can press on the plus sign and make a post. One of the great things about Padlet is that there are many different media types of attachments. So I can come here and access all of those. And this is how I made the poll that you are all just voting on right now. That's one of the attachment types. There's also drawings, images, links to documents or websites. You can record video or audio or screens right in the Padlet as well. And I'm going to show you a little bit more of that. Okay, so today it looks like we have a good mix of folks, more beginners and mostly intermediate folks, a little more than half, and then about a third beginners and the rest advanced. So hopefully you'll all have something to walk away with today. And as I said, I'll be sharing more resources if you want to go a little deeper or a little slower, since this is just a short session. Okay, so that was our poll. And I also want to say in slideshow, it's kind of nice. Polls will update here, or if you have a video, it will play right there in your slideshow too. So it's really easy to present information directly from a Padlet. Okay, so I'll show you a couple of recent examples that I've made. I showed you where you can find more examples, and that was back here on the Make page. There's some examples here, but I'll just pull out a few right now. Coming back to the right tab, here we go. This is an example of one of our whiteboards, Sandbox. So you can make a blank whiteboard and you can just draw on it or write on it, but you can also put, if you have a worksheet or something that you use with your class on paper, you could put that on a sandbox and then students could write or draw directly on the page here. And not only that, but they could record their voice or add an image. So this particular assignment is about interviewing with a partner. And so you could put anything like this that you have, and suddenly it becomes an interactive multimedia assignment, even if it's something you had done on paper in the past. Here's another example. This is also a sandbox. As you can see, sandboxes are very flexible. Since they're just whiteboards, you can put anything on them. We also have a lot of templates. When you first make a sandbox, you'll see those templates. I'll show you that really quickly. If you make a new blank sandbox, there's some template options that show up on the bottom here. So you can explore some of those, or you can just explore the drawing tools, and we'll do that together in a little bit. Back over here. So I was showing you this comic strip. I remember when I taught, we sometimes did comic strips and it was really fun for students, but felt like always a lot of setup. Either we would do it on paper and have to have the right materials, or I would use some different tools and took a little while to set up. On Sandbox, it's pretty straightforward. You can just make boxes or use a template. And then students can come in here and add images by clicking on the +17. These particular images are AI images, but you could also search for images or draw your own. And then you could do something like add a speech bubble to make the characters speak in your little comic strip. So that can be a fun activity for students. And then one more here. This is a more traditional Padlet and might be look more familiar to those who have used Padlet before. This is in the timeline format. So in honor of Earth Day coming up later this month, this is a timeline of the history of Earth Day. And so just a post for each event here. So Padlet can be a place where students come together and they make their own things or add to a discussion. It can also be a nice place for teachers to present information quickly and easily in an easy format to absorb. So instead of having to build your own website or something like that, you can just very quickly make a Padlet and put your resources, whether they're images or text or video, all in one place. Have to have a landing page for students to explore. Okay, so those are just a couple of examples to get us started. And now I'll jump more into our new features. But first, I would love for you to post on this Padlet right here to give it a try. As I was mentioning earlier, you can make a blank board and you can just ask a question. Here, I've asked you to post something about where you are from. So you can come to this Padlet and then click on the plus button here. And then you can just write some words. Or if you want to explore our attachments, you can click on +13. You can search for an image here, or you can generate your own image by giving it a prompt. So whatever you want based on something about either where you're from or where you live now, and then we can collect some posts on this board. And you could do this exact same thing with students. As I was saying, put a prompt here when you make a Padlet, and then you can share this link with them. So you can share the link by clicking at the top and just copying it from your browser. Or you can also click on this sharing arrow here. And here you have a couple of options. You can set your permissions. So I've made sure that visitors can write, and that will allow everyone to post on my board. And for my link privacy, I decided to put it at secret so that you don't have to log in to participate. This is a choice you have when you work with students also. You can have them log in if you want to, or if you don't need them to log in, you can just set it as secret to let everyone access it. And then for our school accounts, we also have an option to only have those with school logins use the board and participate on a board. And then one more thing here while I have this open, you can also get a QR code. So it can be really handy for using with people with phones or tablets to get onto a board and post directly from your phone. Oh, this is my favorite part. I love seeing all the beautiful locations. I already saw some things in the chat about the different weather in different places, snow and sun and all kinds of things where you all are from. Thank you so much for participating. Beautiful. All right, so feel free to keep posting there if you didn't finish that yet. And I will take us into the next new feature. So before I talk about the couple of new features, a couple of the new features that I'm going to mention today are in beta right now. And that means you'll see them if you have your beta features turned on for your account. Anyone can do that. It's really up to you if you want to have those beta features turned on. It's kind of fun because you get to see the features first. So I'll show you where that is. If you are on Padlet, you're going to click on your logo, your icon in the upper right, and you do have to log into an account to set this up, but accounts are free. So you're going to click on User Settings. And then right here under Basic Info at the bottom is Beta Features. So you can turn that on, and then you'll have access to a couple of the things I'm showing you today, and ongoing as we continue to launch new features, you'll get them first. If you don't turn that on, you'll still get them eventually. It'll just be another week or two until it's rolled out for everybody. So this one, screen recording, is in beta right now. We've had screen recording for a little while, but in the past, when you wanted to record your screen, you needed to install a Chrome plugin. So it was a little bit more involved, a few more steps to get that set up. And now it's just built right in. So it's really easy. And again, that's once you have the beta features turned on. So you can actually try it right now if you want to, on this board if you want to, and I'll just show you. You come to the plus sign. And then I'm going to come to my attachments one more time. And here is the screen recording option. So if you don't have beta features turned on, it'll prompt you to install the plugin and that kind of thing. But once you have beta turned on, it'll look like this. It'll just prompt you to set up the screen recording. So asking you which microphone you want, and then it's going to ask me which tab I want to record. So similar if you're sharing your screen in Zoom or something like that. So I could choose which screen I'm going to record, and then I could talk about this. So if students were using this, they could present something and talk through their thinking. They could use this to record their presentation, or you as a teacher could use it to record instructions or information about a lesson. So when I'm ready, I'm going to hit stop here. And now it's made a video for me with my voiceover and with the screen. So I'll show you this. And then I could talk about this. So if students were using this, it'll show your mouse movements. You can move around to different screens if you want to, and you can talk over the information. So excited to share that new feature with you. One other thing to notice is in this post field, you can actually customize this whole box. This is the default that we've been using on this board. So you have all the attachments, you have the default text here. If you click on fields on a Padlet that you own, it'll take you into settings and you can decide what all of these things are. So you can have default text for your subject. You can have custom fields with your own questions to come up in this box. And you can also choose which attachments you want. You can let people use all of them, or you can just turn them all off and just choose a few attachments. So I could just turn on camera and video camera, for example. Also with video recorder and screen recorder, there's a few more customizing options. So I was just showing you screen recording. You can also decide if you want to limit how long that information is. So right now it's at 2 minutes, but I could decide if I want that to be longer or shorter. So yeah, excited for people to try out that screen recording and see how you like that with your students. Oh, great question. So the question in the chat is, do students have to go through these steps too? So they don't have to go through any of the setup steps. So what would happen if you were using this with students? You would make a blank board. So let me come back here. So if I were on Padlet, I would just make a blank board here and I would ask them a question. So maybe if I want them to use screen recording, I'll say, share your presentation. And then you share this link with students. And so it's really quite simple to set up. And then for students, it's pretty simple too. They're just going to come to the plus sign when they get to this board. And then they're going to have to go to the screen recording option if that's what you want them to do. So then they'll come to screen recording. And so there are a few steps in terms of this. They'll still have to select which tab they're going to record and that kind of thing. So you can kind of help them through that the first time, but it should be pretty intuitive. And we get this question a lot too. I just saw another question in the chat. Do students have to log in? No, they don't. So that's up to you also. So if you don't want students to need to log in, when you come to the sharing arrow, you'll just set your link privacy to secret instead of secret login. That will allow everyone to access the board, but it won't force them to log in. So sometimes that's preferred. Thanks for those questions. Okay, our next feature, and this is also in beta right now, is a new layout format. So when you're making a new Padlet, I'll just do that one more time. When we're making a new board, it always asks me what format I want. And this is really nice because it's really flexible and it just lays out the board in different configurations. So in columns or in rows or just free form. And we have a new format that's in beta right now called table. And that allows you to list everything out kind of in a spreadsheet or table format that can be helpful for organizing things. One thing I really like about this format is you can change it at any time. So let me show you, for example, on our intro board here, right now it's in a wall format, but I can change this to just see how it looks in a different format. It won't erase any of the posts. So I've come down here to format. And I can put it into columns, for example, or I could change it just to be totally freeform in a canvas. And then that would put things anywhere like that. Well, there's a lot of posts, so it took a minute to arrange. And this one is the new format called table. So you can see it's the same posts, but now they're just listed out like this. So for some kinds of boards or for some kinds of organization, it can be helpful to put it in that kind of row by row format. And then if you decide you don't want that, you can just come back to format one more time and switch it back to the original thing. Along with that, I'll show you one more way you could use that. So here's an example of collecting some assignments. So if I wanted students to send me maybe their Google slide presentation, or if they've done an assignment on a Padlet, I could ask them to come to this Padlet and submit it as a post right here. And then it would show up in the list right here. I can also, in this format, I can rearrange things. So I can maybe order things. If there's some I want to look at more closely, I could color code the rows if that helps me kind of group different assignments differently that I might need different follow-up on. And one more kind of fancy thing that I can do is if I wanted to collect assignments privately, I could send students a special link called a submission form link. And that way they wouldn't see the whole list, only I would see the list. And that's under the sharing arrow here. So if I click on the sharing arrow, I can come to the submission form. And here I can get a special link. I can set a few of the other settings here. And so now when I come to this link, it just pops open a post box here. So I can submit maybe a Padlet that I've been working on. I can put my name and my project. And then when I submit this, it just gives me a confirmation page. But the teacher still has access to all the submissions here. So you can see on the bottom, here's the one that I just submitted now, and then I can still kind of manipulate these if I want to order them or mark them for follow-up or something like that. That is a more advanced feature. I have a help link about how to do that on the board that I shared. So if you want to learn more about that or revisit it, you can. But it's really powerful we get that question a lot. How can I have my students submit something privately? Okay, yeah, so here's some more information about submission forms. Okay, and also to note, we do have some new format updates coming. We're going to rename some of our formats just to make them a little more clear, but they're not going away. All the formats are staying. We're just adding the new table format. Okay, and this is one of the most exciting ones, I think. This is not quite out yet. It will be in beta soon, but we're going to have the ability to translate your Padlets into other languages. So we've had this request a lot. We have such an international audience of Padlet users that we get this request a lot. And so I'll show you how this works. First of all, for Padlet, you have a default language. So it will assign your language automatically based on your browser settings, but you can also change it if it's not correct. And you click on your profile icon, and then you click on user settings. So this is also where we went to change that beta setting. And right next to it is the language setting. So if you want to put your Padlet in a different language, you can come here and change that. And then for translation, if you're on a Padlet, so for example, let me go to the original. If I'm on a Padlet in another language, so for example, I'm on this Padlet in Spanish right now, I'll get this little notice up here to ask if I want to translate it into my language, which is set as English. So just like you get in your browser sometimes, you may have seen that before, I can click Translate to English, and now this whole board is in English and I can read it in English. This is now like a read-only view of this, so I can't edit this anymore. But if I wanted to save this copy that's in English now, I can always come to the remake button right here. You can do this on any Padlet, and I encourage you to copy any of the Padlets that I've shown you today. You just click on that remake link, and then you're going to be able to make a copy, and it'll stay in that language that you had it in. So it copied the English version for me. I'll show you one more as an example here. Here we are down here. So this is a board that's in German right now. And again, I get this board at the top, and then I can click on Translate to English. And now I've put it all in English for me. So we're super excited about that and hope it can be useful for you and your students. I know so many of us teach multilingual students or work with multilingual families. So having that ability to change languages will hopefully be useful in the content that you create and share with students. Okay, and then so those are kind of the three big new features that are either out in beta or coming soon. And then I'll show you just a couple other resources here. When you're on Padlet, I showed you how we have examples here. So I encourage you to explore those a bit more. And then under Gallery, we have a lot more templates. So that can also be a useful place to learn what kinds of things are possible in Padlet. And we always have a featured Padlet of the month. We have a new one that just came out for April. And this is all about Earth Day since that's coming up. So we have a bunch of resources here that you can use with your students, like an example discussion board, timeline, a few other things here. I showed you the comic strip. And we even have a list of videos all about Earth Day. So as I was saying before, Padlet can be a great place to share resources. So on this Padlet, we have a bunch of videos and discussion questions. So this could be shared with students as an activity for them to explore. And also as a nice way to give students choice. So I know that I used to make a lot of choice boards for students when I was teaching. And it's really nice. They feel, empowered to find the thing that's connecting with them more and get a little more engaged if they have some different options to explore instead of just one thing to learn about. Okay, so that is our kind of Earth Day template of the month. And then for our last activity here, I wanted to play a little bit more on Sandbox. We've gotten a couple of questions about Sandbox already, and I showed you some examples. It's a really rich space. So when I come into Sandbox, actually, I'm just going to put these three in the chat here. So you can come over to any one of those. I made three just in case they get too crowded because we have a lot of people on the webinar today, but I want you to get a chance to explore yourself. So if one is too crowded, go to 2 or 3, and they also have multiple pages here, or cards, we call them. So I invite you to come on here. You can answer this question if you want, or you can just play. And the question is, what are you excited to try with Padlet? So you can come over here, you can put a Post-it note, you can add an attachment, an image, or a drawing, or you can draw as well. So there's a marker right here you can draw with if you want to draw directly on the board. On this whiteboard or Sandbox, you'll notice that multiple people can be on here at the same time. Probably about 30 to 40 at the same time will work really smoothly. and you can all add things at the same time, and you can't delete each other's posts, so that's a nice thing. So students can be on here together. Sometimes things might overlap for a minute, but you can always move them. And the teacher can certainly edit and delete things or moderate things if they want to. Yeah, I see a couple of other questions in the chat. Yes, we will definitely share the recording of this session afterwards, and I'll tell you where you can find everything. I also see another question about, can you assign everyone a different card? Yes, you can. So over here under the three dots, under sharing, you can get a link to this card or a card breakout room. And the difference between is two ways to share an individual card with someone specific. The first one points them to the card but lets them access the whole deck. And the card breakout room gives them only access to a single card. So depending on the assignment, you can choose which one is most appropriate. Oh, beautiful. So yeah, great. Keep adding things here, or use some of the other cards, or go to the number 2 or number 3 link if that is more spacious for you. Let's pause here. And Julia, do you see any questions that you want to highlight for the group that have been coming up?
Yeah, of course. I think one question maybe if you could go back to the sandbox and show how to add multiple cards, I think that would be helpful.
Yeah, sure. So over here on the left-hand side is where you can add more cards. The view that you have right now is like the student view, so you're participating, so you can't do that on this Padlet. But if you make your own sandbox, you'll be able to just hit the plus button and make multiple cards.
And there's one other question in the chat that I think is a good one. Someone had a student who did a gallery of their photographs, but they were wondering about protecting those images. So I was wondering if you could show our copy protection feature.
Yeah. So I'll go to a Padlet over here. So under the sharing arrow here, you have some options. There's a bunch of stuff here. You can decide who can access it and all of those things. And then actually it's in settings, isn't it? Let me go back here. Under setting gear, if I come down here, here's where I have the copy protection. So right now that's set at none. That means anyone could copy it or download it. And here I can disable that if I want to. So I can disable remakes, or I can disable all. Disable all will keep it the most secure, and no one will be able to download anything or export it or make copies of it. Thanks for that question. Anything else coming up, or is that good for now?
Yeah, one other person asked if we would be adding a submission form to the Sandbox tool, kind of like how we have on Padlet boards.
Yeah, great question. I think with a lot of the things in Sandbox, Sandbox is a newer tool, so we will definitely look into that, and hopefully we'll be adding some of the things that are in boards, like submission form, that are not yet there in Sandbox. So we'll bring that back to our product team and let them know that that's of interest. Okay, well, let me share some other resources for you all. There were some questions earlier about where can you find recordings? Will this session be recorded? And I'll put this link into the chat. So we have this Padlet Sessions page. So this has today's session. It also has our upcoming sessions. In 2 weeks, we have a session about Padlet TA. So I'll just show you really quickly. Padlet TA is a new tool that we have built that's a little bit separate from Padlet. It has some ability to create lesson plans, presentations, has some other tools like QR code generator, short link generator. It's meant to be a little toolkit for teachers, or like a teaching assistant, to help you do common tasks easily. So we're going to have a session in 2 weeks all about that. And then on that Padlet Sessions page, we also post all the recordings here from past sessions. So if you want to dig into Sandbox or into our AI tools, we have a lot of different videos that you can explore on your own or share with others. And then we also have a YouTube channel, and we have a link here that Julia made, which is a roundup of lots of different features that launched over the past year. So if you'd like to have a deeper dive into any of these things, you can come here and explore. So our AI image generator, or kind of our Sandbox tools, or any of the things that we launched last year. We mentioned this earlier, that for free, anyone can use Padlet with all the features that I mentioned for free. and you're just limited to 3 Padlets. If you need more Padlets, you can explore any of these subscription options. The pricing will be different for each country, so you'll have localized pricing in your currency when you come to this page. I'll put that link in the chat if you want to explore that. And if possible, I encourage you to ask your school or district about the school account. That's definitely the most powerful because then all your colleagues can use Padlet together. You can integrate with your login system and your learning management system, and also get free accounts for your students. So check that out. If your school is interested in that, you can just fill out the form right here on this page, and we're happy to give you more information about that. All right, and 1 or 2 last things. If you have more questions that we didn't get to, we have an amazing support team, and you can email them anytime at hello@padlet.com. Any questions, anything you're wondering about, feel free to let them know, and they'll get right back to you. And then, especially for those who are newer to Padlet or just wanting a more comprehensive information session about Padlet, we have this new PD 101 course. So anyone can take this. You can view some of these videos, or you can view them all. The whole course is about 1 hour if you were to view everything. And then you can get a certificate for completion by filling out this form at the end. So there's lots more examples in here of different projects and things you can do with students. So this will give you a deeper dive into Padlet as a whole to get to know it better. Okay, and the last thing I want to say is that these sessions get better and better with your feedback. So I'll put a feedback link in the chat. And really, I was actually just looking at the feedback from this morning from our sessions earlier. It really helps us make the session most useful. So if you have any feedback for how it could be better or different, or any topics that you'd like us to go into, please let us know in that feedback form. Oh, and I'll give you the link to, I saw a question about the course again. The course is at the bottom of this page right here, and all the links are right there. I'll also put this landing page back in the chat. So if it went quickly and you need to reference something, everything is on this landing page for you. So I'll put that back in the chat. Yes, and I see one more question about changing the font style. So in Padlet boards, you have a few options for fonts here. In Sandbox, that is coming very soon. We've had that request a lot. So that's coming soon for Sandbox. You'll have some font choices there as well. Line drawing graphics from your site. We'll get back to you on that. I see a request for some more backgrounds. Oh, I think this has to do with the different illustrations that we have. That's a great suggestion to make those available as a background. We'll make a note of that, and we'll hang out so this is kind of the end of our session, but I see a few more questions coming in. So we'll hang out for a couple more minutes and try to answer any last questions. And here are the resources one more time. Oh, yes, and I see a question about expanding polls. That is something we're also working on. So right now, when you create a poll, it's pretty simple and limited. There's just 4 options and multiple choice questions. So that's something that we are working on to expand that and make it a little bit more complex to make it more useful for you all. Okay, one more time, I'll stick these resources in here. Hope to see you at a new session in the future. It's really great to see you all here. Thank you so much for coming. Okay, take care, everybody.